today's attendees. So I would urge all our friends to join us. Keep it an interactive session. Try and help us solve all your doubts, and at the same time get a brief idea about how the whole planning is done.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we have. Yeah, I think we should start. We could start the session now.
Okay. Okay. So shall I share my screen? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Will you make me the host, sir? The, to, Once again. Yeah. Okay. So is my screen visible? Okay. Is the screen visible, doctor?
Yes, it's visible. You could project
Okay.
it.
Okay. Okay. So today, let's start with the first case. This was by our own doctor, and as I mentioned earlier, the purpose of today's session is to just get an idea how ortho models are created, what is the basis for analysis and planning for our cases, how much teeth movement is possible, keeping in mind the biologic limitations of orthodontic tooth movement while making the aligner planning. We will also try and show you all kinds of tooth movements, how do we do it, and what is the basis for introducing them at various stages during aligner treatment planning, and also how the staging for aligner tooth movement is done. So now looking at the journey up till now, what is most crucial in aligner planning is the staging of the tooth movement, the sequencing of the tooth movement, and also we always keep a focus on keeping it patient centric. So whenever we ask for the SD Align form, what happens is all of us fill the form, we submit the case, you give the photographs, and in the form we especially check the chief complaint. We also see what is the core requirement for the patient and our doctor, and we try to build a whole treatment plan around that, so that the patient compliance is improved from day one, and also we make sure that the requirement for your treatment is catered first. Then also, keeping that as the main focus, we also add the basic principles of stability and retention for the correction that we are planning. So the first case today is a case of this is a girl. She's 12 years old. So these are one of the teen cases we are starting, in which
I will just interrupt you, doctor, just a minute.
yeah,
I would
yeah,
want to welcome Dr. Harshad.
okay,
This is the case being given to us by Dr. Harshad, and Dr. Harshad is with us. So, Dr. Harshad, let's have an interactive session at any. This case has been going to be well planned with Dr. Jenil, and any case, let's have an interact. You can put in your suggestions.
good afternoon, doctor. Kind of you to join us, and we are happy that you are with us today.
Yeah, sure, sir.
Yes. So please be with us during this journey, and you can give your inputs. I may now I'll just give a brief idea regarding the case. So just give your inputs also. Okay.
Yes, yes.
So what I had understood is key. This the main requirement for the case is highly placed canine in upper right quadrant. This profile is flat for the girl. Also, there is some amount of corridor which we can improve. So looking at the extraoral photographs, we need to mainly address the crowding, the buccal corridor. We can inbuild some expansion, and the profile is flat. So it tells us we can try and manage the case non-extraction, and the age is on our side. So even when we built in expansion, it will work very nicely. So we had given the option of doing rapid maxillary expansion also, but after the doctor discussed with the parents, they were also keen to try and pursue maximum possible expansion with the aligner therapy. So keeping that theme in mind, we have also kept that as the first stage for our planning. Now, keeping looking at the intraoral photographs, we can see she is a good class 1 relation on the molars. The canine is highly placed on the right hand side. The left hand side canine is slightly out of arch, and the upper arch is constricted, and the lower arch there is mainly anterior bolt-on mismatch and anterior crowding. The bite is relatively good. There is not much of a deep bite, and also vertically there is not much of a vertical component in the growth pattern. Only the profile is mildly flat. So this is the OPG of the same case. We can see most of the apex are closed. Only the canine apex and the premolar in the lower arch is slightly open, but slowly and steadily it will fuse in couple of months because she's already now 12 years old. So we can do the tooth movement. So how do we go about planning such a case? First, we will keep in mind certain basic tenets. If this case would walk into your operatory, I am sure you would first consider expansion in the upper arch up to 2 mm, then mildly flare the upper anteriors so that you can gain some anterior-posterior space for the canine to come down. After that, coordinate the upper and lower arch form, and then finally, as with any ortho treatment, you will level and align the arches, try and match the midline, and establish symmetric overjet and overbite. So for the lower arch, we have kept similar objectives. Try and correct the crowding area in the lower anterior region, 3-1, 4-1, 3-2, 4-2. Just help with the torque also in that area. Especially the torque will also be important for 1-2 and 1-3. So this is the main objectives for the case. So now this is how a typical view for the orthoanalyzer looks. So what I'll do is first I'll just quickly run through the various stages of tooth movement in the PowerPoint format. Then the same thing we will run through live on the software. So here what we can see on this slide is this is the first stage with expansion. Here we can see on the left hand side we have the tooth movement chart. So what it is telling us, okay, in the region of 4 and 5, we have given the first round of expansion of 1.5 mm on the left and on the right. In the photographic view, we can see the same correction from blue to white. So that is showing us that is the amount of expansion we have built in. Also, when we do more than 1.5 or 2 mm expansion, we also add 0.5 mm of buccal root torque to prevent buccal hanging of the roots. So the palatal cusp can hang after expansion. So to help with that, we also add buccal root torque once we exceed a certain level of expansion. So what we do here is we do sequential expansion. First we do the posterior expansion for upper and lower quadrant arches, and then in the next stage we do anterior expansion. Why do we divide it? So that the tracking with the aligner is easier, and also it is much more comfortable for the patient. So this is the stage 2 where again the superimposed view and the midlines are on. We can see after doing posterior expansion, now we have switched to anterior expansion, arch form development, and coordination of upper and lower anterior arch form. So for the upper arch, we can see we had to mainly try and flare the first right quadrant 1-1, 1-2, try and maintain 2-1, 2-2 in the symmetric position, try and hold the canine on the other side, and establish a overcorrected arch form. Now, as we all know with aligners, we have to slightly build overcorrection because there will be lag of tooth movement because of the plastic wear and also the inconsistency sometimes in the wear of the aligner. So,
Dr. Jenial,
yes.
for the benefit of everybody, can you just explain what the blue markings on
Yes,
the
yes,
model stand
definitely,
for and what
definitely.
is this thing?
So, as the sir has rightly pointed out, the blue markings are the pre-treatment position and the white markings are the final position
After, yes.
for this stage. So every stage in the photograph, we can see a blue zone and a white zone. The blue zone is where we started from, and the white zone is where we ended. So why we are keeping these photographs here is to explain to you the amount of correction we are building in per stage. So now there is another benefit to this. Let's say this staging data you keep with you as an operator during the treatment. It always help you to track and always help you to be in alert mode regarding the objective of each aligner phase. So let's say I deliver the first 5 sets, you give it to the patient, and once you have delivered the aligners to the patient, you know first 5 sets you have to track the premolars as we saw in the previous slide. So you have to be alert regarding 1415, 2425. It has to see, you have to check the contacts, you have to pass floss, and you have to make sure that the teeth are tracking. Then the next 5 or 10 sets, you will be aware or alert regarding the anterior movement and how much the movement visually also you can compare. So whenever the patient visits you for subsequent aligners, you can open up this plan, which we will share with you. Also, you can keep the staging tab open, and you can keep in mind at which stage what teeth are moving and visually confirm it in the mouth. So there are a lot of ways you can use this data to your advantage and make sure you're in complete control of the success of the case. So in the lower, on the right hand side photo, we can see the lower anteriors, we have now started flaring along with the expansion. So in the lower arch, what we have done, we have staged this. First, we have done the posterior expansion, and after that, we have started flaring. As we can see, the another good thing about staging with aligners is till the space for the lateral incisor is developed, we don't start pushing them buccally. So first we mesialize 3-1 and 4-1, get them into a tight contact, distalize 3-3 and 4-3, make enough space for 3-2 and 4-2, and then start pushing them outwards. So if you have built enough space with in any phase of aligner therapy, the tracking and the success is very predictable after that. The similar principle applies for the upper arch, where we are making enough space for the canine on the right hand side, and then only we are trying to get it down. So first two stages are exclusively devoted to developing enough space for the most locked out tooth or most difficult tooth that needs to be moved. So any doubts up till now, you can feel free to pause. We'll be happy to just take a call at that point. Now we come to the third stage. So as we saw for the first two stages, we developed the arch form. We coordinated the arch form. First we did posterior expansion. Then we did anterior expansion and flaring. We also established enough space for the 1-3, 3-2, and 4-2. And now we will focus on moving them. And that is also easier for you to track clinically. Also in the vertical dimension, as we can see, the blue is the pre-treatment position. The white is the post-treatment position. So the post-treatment position is showing vertical intrusion also built in. And also because the canine is extruding, there will be some amount of residual action on the lateral incisor and on the central incisor. So for that, we'll have to keep them in a overcorrected position. Now the final stage is where we try and establish a class 1 with the canine. Also we add some torque with the 1-2 and 1-3. So for 1-3 we'll try and give buccal root torque if the canine initial angulation was palatal, and for 1-2 we'll also give buccal root torque if the root is also palatally positioned. If it was the other way around, we can give palatal root torque for the canine and buccal root torque for the lateral. So if we want to plan this in detail, we also have an option for getting or adding the CBCT data, and we can make a customized torque option or a torque finishing in the case as per the requirement. So we have an option in the 3Shape software where we can take the CBCT data. Also keep that in mind when we are trying to move the roots or add torque in the final stage. Now to execute this at the aligner end, we also have torquing auxiliaries in the form of pressure point or pressure ridges, which is also known commonly as power ridges. So now we have understood the four phases of this case. We have also understood how do we stage them to our advantage. We can also divide the anchorage at each stage to maximize our tooth movement and also minimize the ankle loss. Now let us look at this tooth movement chart. So this tooth movement chart is telling us what is the tooth position as compared to the pre-treatment position, how much each tooth has moved. So this data also we share with all our practitioners once we are giving them the details or the ortho analysis report. So once we finish your treatment plan, we export this data into a PDF with all the details regarding the staging, the total amount of tooth movement, the total number of sets, the sequential IPR or interproximal reduction, and also which areas or which zones are critical for tracking. At this stage, if you all have told us that the patient is an outstation patient or the patient won't be available, we can always divide the staging as per the availability of the patient, and we can customize it for you case by case. So looking at this data, what do we see? 1-3 is where the tooth movement has happened. we can see we have the inclination is corrected by 11 degrees, rotation is only 3 degrees, the extrusion is up to 2 mm, 2.1 mm, and other teeth are in that vicinity. Even 1 2 we have moved quite a lot. So all these things come into a play while we decide the number of aligners and staging of the aligners for tooth movement. The important data here is also the vertical correction. So if you can see 1 3 we have also extruded by 2 mm to minus 2.6. So if you see the second last the column, which is telling us the extrusion and intrusion data, is minus 2 mm. That is where we have gotten the canine down. Now, to track this canine movement for up to 2 mm, we have to use the extrusion attachment which we provide on the canine. And also we isolate the extrusion of canine so that it is easier for you to track. But keeping in mind, we always also see, let's say for some reason the canine is not tracked well. We will also give you provisions for extrusion button mechanics where we will provide you cutouts on the canines and you can put two buttons buccally and lingually and put a chain. Now that we can resort to the last option if it is not happening. I think so. There's some question in the chat. One second. Okay, am I not audible? Is it not audible? Okay.
Sorry, it's a problem at the audience end. You're clearly audible.
Okay, okay.
It's fine.
Okay, great.
The question that came in was from Dr. Manu,
Okay.
who had asked regarding proximal stripping to
Yes.
correct the lower crowding.
Yes,
so,
yes, yes.
So
So
you
I
may
will
want
be
to take
sharing
it
that
now,
data.
or you may
Yeah,
want to take it at the point when you cover IPR.
So it's just coming up. It's just coming up. So the
Sure.
next slide is IPR. So we are going on the next slide now. We'll just see the IPR. So this is Dr. Manu. What we have planned the IPR. You can unmute yourself, sir. We can have a discussion. That's not a problem. So, sir, see what we planned in the first stage after expansion for 10 sets. So how to read this chart? I will just guide you. Version 1 subset 10. What does it tell us? At stage 10, after the initial 9 sets where we have tried and built in expansion, you will have to do 0.5 mm IPR between the canine and the premolar. Now let's go back to the photograph just to visually appreciate this. So that also I'll show you on the software also. But let's just see once on the photo. So as you can see the lower arch, initially to do IPR for the lateral incisor will be difficult. So what we have done sequential IPR. Now the idea behind this is to open up the contact as they are accessible since the patient is a local patient. If it was an outstation patient, we would have to build the anterior IPR also at the first stage. So now here we have done between 3334 and 3435. Similarly between the canine and the premolar on the other side, distalize the canine, and between the two incisors at a later stage, the two central incisors for the lower arch, mesialize them, open enough space for the two laterals, and then push them out slowly. So this is how we have built the IPR plan for the lower arch. I'll show you again the chart. Okay. Is it better, Dr. Manu? Are you able to appreciate this? You can unmute if any doubt regarding this. Okay, similarly for the upper arch, we have done similarly for the central and the lateral, so that to free up the contact and allow distalization of the two premolars so that we can build enough space for the canine, which is vertically locked. So now this is the staging data or the staging photo, like how other providers, we also believe in staging the tooth movement and sharing with you. One second, I think so. Okay, it's not audible. Am I not audible?
Audible, sir. It's a problem at their end.
Okay, great.
I will take it up with Dr. Ankit.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Sure. You can
you're
continue.
audible.
Okay, okay. So what I'm trying to show with this staging data is 0 to 8. You can see we have only done premolar expansion. From 8 to 22, we are mainly moving the anterior teeth. Then again, we are trying to move the canine exclusively from 24 to 34. So if you can see from the 24th set, that is the bottom row is the aligner stage and the left hand side row is the tooth number. So let's see this one more time. From 18 to 28 is the left hand vertical column that is telling us the tooth number, and the bottom column or bottom row is telling me the tooth the stage. So if I want to read this data properly, what it is in the summary, what is this data telling me? Initially, I am focusing on expansion. In the middle, I am focusing on arch form development and developing enough space for the canine. That is 1-3. And then we are then focusing in the later stages on getting the canine down. And finally, we are focusing on torquing. So this is how we can state. Now this is also similar to the frogging stage, which is there for the extraction cases. We follow the similar principle where we build the whole treatment plan around the most locked tooth or the most blocked tooth. So I hope this staging is easy to understand. Anyone has any doubt regarding the staging, we can just discuss it, or then we can go to the live software. Okay. So then, so complete non-extraction, complete the correction, and 45 sets. So now I'll just stop this PowerPoint at this stage, and now we'll open up the software. So in summary, non-X arch form development, space development for the canine, and then correction. So now we'll just go ahead and start with the software. Just 1 minute, it will load now. One second. Okay, so now we are on the system. So many doctors do ask me what is the requirements for the system. It is a very high-end system and it requires a lot of RAM, but we just have to connect it and we can see the correction or live happening. We don't need from our end much of the system requirements. So we maintain a database like this for each case, and as per the requirement, we can load the plan and we can discuss it now.
So at this stage, while doctor is moving, is opening the file, just like to let you know that we have a self-learning mechanism. So every case that comes to us, we thoroughly feed those inputs back into our system, which in turn actually improves our planning efficiency as well as effectiveness. So Dr. Jainil actually analyzes each case, and there's a continuous learning mechanism, almost uh, like a artificial intelligence algorithm that is actually driven manually with the team at our end. So every case that we start is actually adding more intelligence to the platform, providing you better treatment plans.
Just a minute. Can we ask all the participants to be on mute? Vikram, you're not clear.
Wait, I'll just mute all. I'll mute all. Okay. Yeah. I muted all of them. Yeah.
Sure.
Sir, please continue. Yeah.
So what, as you said, so Dr. Janu just showed you all the treatment plans that were there. So after around 1,500 treatment plans that we've developed over the last 1 year, what has happened is that there is some basic intelligence that our system has developed. So a lot of our treatment plans are based on effective plans that have been done in the past, and the learnings of the past 1,500 plans are actually embedded in it. So when you are getting a plan from our end, you can rest assured that the treatment is going to track fine. Yeah. Now I'll ask Dr. Janil to continue from here.
So keeping that point and adding to that point, Vikram sir is very right. What has happened is we at every whenever we started to plan, we had the same objective that we should be able to give you the most efficient plan with the least amount of tracking problems. And we are always focused to go back to our cases which are finishing, or all the data that comes back, or all the feedback that comes from each and every clinician, to take into account at every level wherever the planning can be improved, to minimize the chair side problems, and also to minimize the chair side inconsistencies. So that can range from attachment size, attachment shape, aligner extension, fit of the aligner, sequencing and staging. So we also like to, take the feedback from all our practitioners regarding every aspect of the aligner journey. The purpose of today's session is also to help you unravel the mystery behind planning, and also make you more and more confident with our principles of planning, so that you can take the your aligner acumen to the next level. So now, as I discussed earlier, what will we have done for the first stage? Okay, so I'll just give a brief layout. What is this software showing us? So this is the three-shaped software. This is the upper arch. This is the lower arch. On the right-hand side are some panels where we can see the midline. So always we keep the midline on so that we don't, affect the midline during correction. We can also see the individual arches here, which is very good to see the occlusion in every possible angle. So we can see the front view, we can see the back view. In that, we can also see if there are any overhanging cusps, if there is any problem with the contact, if the how much is the deep bite. We can also measure the amount of tooth movement. So we have a grid view like how we can do with other systems, and we can put that on the grid when we are doing the total movement. So let's say if you want to understand how much the total movement has happened visually, so we can also give you this view where we can see the correction happening millimeter by millimeter, stage by stage. So it is a very calculated correction so that we try and minimize the inefficiency. So let's see the first stage on the top left corner, that is the expansion. So this is stage 0, as we can see. Now I'll slightly zoom in. I hope all of you are able to see this clearly. And I'll slowly play it stage by stage. So first 5 sets, we'll see the premolar come outwards. Then the next 5 sets also. And by the end of each stage, let's see the occlusion. So let's see the bite after the premolar expansion. And I'll minimize the gums a little so that you are able to see. And we have also kept in mind that the interdigitation should not be free or hanging at the end of expansion. So that helps us establish the posterior arch form at the end of stage 1. So I will now just play stage 1 so that you are able to see it clearly. Okay. So this is from the front with the gums, and now I'll just play. So as you can see now, premolar area, you can see slowly coming forward, the upper and lower. And here also we can stage the lower first, then the upper if there is any kind of crossbite. So let's say you have a 3-5 or upper 1-4 in crossbite. So first we can hold the lower tooth, expand the upper arch, then correct the crossbite, and then move the lower tooth. So we can also play with the sequencing according to the case required. As you can see, this 1-2 is also very much in 2-2 is also very much in H2H bite with lower canine. So that also we can sequence it. So this is the end of stage 1 where we have done the expansion. We can also see it from the occlusal view to appreciate the expansion. So we have not moved the front teeth, as we can use that as anchorage. There was also option for molar distalization in cases like this. So if you have, let's say, a missing third molar, we can always trigger sequential molar distalization for space requirements. Okay. Now comes the next stage of arch form development. So now once our upper lower posterior segment is mildly expanded, let's go and establish the anterior arch form. So it's going to load now, and then we'll see the anterior correction. So now let us walk through it stage by stage. So I'll minimize the lower arch because the upper is the main correction here. And we will see every 5 sets how it is working. So now if you see, we can also analyze per stage the amount of tooth contact. So this is a very important feature. what we can see that if I turn on the collision, how much is the contact between each tooth, or how tight is the contact, so that it facilitates easy correction or less locking of the teeth while they're getting corrected. So now I'll move the, or I'll do the correction. You can see for every 5/7. So first we are going to move the anteriors and the premolar. So as Dr. Manu was asking, at this stage we would plan the IPR between the canine and the first and the second premolar for the first quadrant. Similarly on the other side between the first and the second premolar. And after we have done that IPR of 0.5 mm, you can see it happening here. So if you focus slowly on the contact, I'll do it one more time. See, please see the 1415 area and the contact between them. It will open up now after end of first stage. So that will signify 0.5 mm of IPR done by you clinically. And for the next 5 sets, first we will distalize the premolar, and simultaneously we will also get the lateral out. Also, we have done IPR between the, at the later stage, we have done IPR between the central and the lateral also. So that is just to help with the anterior arch form and flaring. So as we can see, we have minimized, and we, if you remember, we had this blue tab on. So we can see the right hand, the left hand quadrant, we have not moved much. We have just focused on moving the upper right 1, 1 and 1, 2. And the blue again shows us the pre-treatment position from the end of first stage. And this is the final position at the end of second stage. So we can see the expansion with the upper posterior is intact, and only the anterior flaring in the 1, 1, 1, 2 region. The 2, 1, 2, 2 and 2, 3 can act as anchorage so that there is better control. Now let's see the same thing in the lower arch. So as with the lower arch, what we would see is the blue tab showing us the pre-treatment position. I'll minimize that for a second. Let's see where we did the IPR. So as we had discussed, we have done IPR distal to the canine and distal to the premolar. So if you zoom in, let's see, we have done on stage 1, that is the 11th stage clinically, between the canine and the premolar and first and second premolar. Similarly on the left and the right quadrant. Now the next 10 sets are focused on distalizing the canine and flaring the lower anterior 3141, so that we have developed enough space for the 2 locked lateral incisors. Also at the same time, we don't lose vertical control. So we also keep in mind, are we not dumping or deepening the bite? So if you see from the intraoral profile view, we can see that we have maintained the axial inclination, or rather actively tried and maintained the vertical position. So with minimal amount of dumping or deepening of the bite, we have tried and established as much as possible the arch form by second stage. So up till now, we have established these two things, and the number of aligners are 20 aligners, 11 from the first and 9 from the first and 11 from the second. Now we go to the third stage. So at the end of 2 stages, clinically, you will be very clear that there will be enough space for the canines now to come down. So at this stage comes the idea, the stage for canine extrusion.
Dr. General, can you mute
Yeah.
once again all?
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll
Yeah.
do that. One minute. Yeah, mute all. I think so. I've done it at my end. One. One.
I can see Galaxy Note 8, which is
I'll,
unmute.
wait. I'll go in on 1 minute. 1 minute. I'll do it one more time. I'll do it one more time. I think so it should work this time. Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, I think so now it's clear. So now we go to the third stage where we are doing canine extrusion, and let's look at that stage from the vertical because it will be appreciated in that view. So let's start with the 0 from this stage. The canine is up and we need to extrude it by good 2 mm. But if you see, the software is also showing us the amount of space available between the canine and the adjacent teeth, which is a good 0.05 or 0.09 for the canine and the lateral, and between the canine and the premolar we have a good millimeter. And another good thing is we have to slightly tip the canine also down so that it will be a trackable movement. So if we build up a radial movement or a archeal movement, it is much more trackable. So let's see for the 5 stages what is going to happen now. So we are going to tip it slightly down, and simultaneously, if you remember, we had developed the space for the lower laterals, so we are going to tip them forward now. Similarly for the next 10. So at every stage, you can also minimize each arch and check that each tooth has been positioned properly, keeping in mind the overall control for the case. So by the end of 11 stages, for the third stage, the canine is more or less in the occlusal plane, and we can also overcorrect it by half or 1 mm depending on the incisal visibility to begin with. So if there is a less visibility, we can always overdo it. So this is at the end of after canine extrusion. Let's see how the arch form is looking. So we are more or less there. The 1-2 can be tipped in a little more as compared to 2-2. The canine position can be slightly improved buccolingually. The premolars are okay. Let's see the lower arch. The lower arch, we can also do one more thing is we can add some root torque, and also we can push the 3141 more lingually. So these are the couple of things we can still improve on at the end of third stage. So we go to the last, that is a torque expression overcorrection stage. So you see in the overcorrection stage we have made the whole thing compact. So let's see it one more time. So this is how it will look with the gums on. Let's see in the overcorrection what we are doing. We are doing little bit squeezing of the arch, get the canine in, tuck it in, get the two centrals compact. Also make sure the contact between each tooth is nice and tight, and make sure that there is enough vertical clearance or vertical opening. Now, if you see also from this view, this is a very important view. We have kept some free space between 1, 2 and the lower, so that at that stage we have kept some option open for torque. So at this stage also, if you tell us ki, I would like some addition of torque or some help in finishing, we keep some excess overjet to help you with that. But if it is a case by case decision, if it is not necessary, we can make it very compact like this also. So as you can see now, it is very compact with minimal incisal interference. And also we can, if there is a, let's say, horizontal growth pattern or a vertical growth pattern, depending on that we can build a little bit of 0.2 mm or 0.5 mm premolar molar extrusion to make sure that the bite opening is maintained. Now let's see the upper arch, what else we have built in terms of finishing. So this is at the end of stage 3. So as you can see, there is a good amount of torque requirement for all the anteriors, laterals, canines. So we have tried and built in. At this point, even the CBCT data, if available, is good, or even we can see from OPG. So as we all know, we'll have to add some root torque on the lateral, also for the canine, depending on the initial position. So we always try to add 2 to 5 degrees and make the whole correction very compact. If the canine was buccally placed or the root prominence was very high in the beginning, we will avoid buccal root torque for canine, we'll give palatal root torque, and vice versa depending on the initial position of the canine. And at that point, we'll also keep in mind that there is enough space for the canine to express that torque. And clinically in the aligner, what are the options? We can give a power ridge on the cervical aspect, either on the buccal or on the palatal. For the lateral incisor, let's say if you want to have a buccal root torque because it was first initially lingually locked, then we can give a bite plane or bite ramp palatally and a aligner pressure point on the buccal to help with the expression.
So, Dr. Janil, a
Yeah.
lot of our doctors here may not be Invisalign providers, so may not
Okay.
know what a bite ramp is.
So I'll show them now. I'll just show
Power
all of
ridges.
that. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. I'll show them on the now we will see the final version, because very rightly so, sir has pointed out, because we need to be aware of these options. Many a time we won't be able to trigger them if we are not aware. So let us just understand briefly what are the attachments available in our plethora of armamentarium. So we have all the options available. Let's see them one by one. So for this case, if you see, what is crucial for us is the vertical control or the axial control for 1-1, 2-1, and 1-3. So for that, we have given a, I think so someone is able to, please Ankit doctor, avoid touching the screen. If you can just please erase these lines, it is coming on our screen, doctor. Just avoid this. Okay. 1 minute. Okay. Okay. So, okay, we'll see that later. What I'm trying to convey here is key. Let us see the attachments options available one by one. So, keeping in mind the theme for canine extrusion, we have given a gingivally beveled extrusion attachment for the canine. We have also placed it little bit occlusally. The reason being so that when the aligner, let's say for down the line, you have to give a cutout. We can provide you a cutout option also, and also we can give you a guidance for putting a ball or a button so that you can do extrusion mechanics. So we can give you a button option for extrusion of canine. Let's see how do we do that. So I can take the canine, put a nice button here on the cervical aspect, and you can also bond it clinically. So keeping this shape in mind, we'll give a cutout for the canine at that stage so that you can have a button bonded and you can make sure that the canine extrusion has panned out properly. Secondly, for the lateral incisors, as we just discussed, either we can keep a vertical control or a vertical bar, or this same thing we can modify for a bite ramp. So this will act as a bite ramp so that you don't have to bond this physically in the mouth, but it will act as a bite ramp or a root torquing action by the hitting of the lower incisors on the palatal aspect. So this is how a bite ramp looks clinically, or sorry, on the aligner. So when the aligner is thermoformed, you have a hollow area which will be this hollow area in the tooth aspect, but on the aligner it will be an elevated portion. So you will feel a bump here in the form of this shape, which will tell you that this is a bite ramp, so that the lateral incisor doesn't unwantedly tip inwards. So it's like a counter tip. Similarly, on the buccal aspect, we have given vertical bevels. These vertical bar attachments we all know are important for bodily control, so that when we are mesially or adding mesial or distal tip to the incisors, we don't lose vertical control. We all know how lateral incisors are notorious for aligner control, so that we have also given a vertical bar on the lingual aspect. And along with that, we have given a gingivally beveled attachment on the canine, so that your control for the canine when you are establishing arch form is maintained. On the premolar, we have given slightly beveled attachment, if you can see. Why is this? So that let's say I have given 2 to 3 degrees palatal root torque. So I can give a bevel which will enhance the torque effect because there will be palatal hanging cusp if we do expansion. So keeping these things in mind, we have given some basic beveled attachments on the premolar molar. We have given a button cutout option for the canine. We have given a gingivally facing attachment for the canine so that there is a extrusion action.
Dr. Janil,
Yeah, yeah,
can you give me for 1 minute the
sure,
right
sure.
to say share my screen
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
possibly
I'll
you
do
could
that.
show them what are we
Yeah,
talking about?
yes, yes, definitely.
Just
So I'll have
just give me a
to,
minute. Yeah, just
yeah,
have to
yeah.
click on screen share and say multiple screen.
Okay. New share now. Okay, one second. So multiple,
Yeah, multiple screen shares.
it's share is advanced, is it? Or in the basic option
Or,
or?
or you could give me hosting rights. One of the two.
Oh, okay. I'll just give you the hosting rights. Yes, sir. You are the host now. Please take over. Yeah.
So Dr. Jaini, you can continue from this point onwards. Just explain them what these attachments are.
Yeah. So this is a great slide. We could have actually put this first. So what this is telling us, what are the various auxiliaries open for us to be used as per our requirement. So as we can see, the palatal, the first thing is the bite ramp. What we were, so what I'll do is this bite ramp, I just made it on the software. We just saw that. Then we have these hooks. So when do we explore the hook option? Let's say the tooth size is very big and the stability of the aligner is not affected. Then we can just give a small hook in the end to run some class 2 elastics on the canines also. Then there is a cutout, a crescent shape cutout on the left hand side. So what I'll do is on the left hand side we can see the name cutout. So the cervical aspect of these molar or on the canine or on the anterior, we can give a crescent shape cutout for you to actually bond a button, and this is very useful for rotation corrections. So we have had good results for premolar rotation correction where we can add two cutouts on the molar and on the premolar and derotate the premolar while maintaining control over the molar. Then the virtual C chain effect is nothing. So what I'll do is along with this, I'll show you these all corrections now on the software also. So the virtual C chain is nothing in the end where we compress all the teeth in a as possible compact arrangement as a form of overcorrection. So these are 4 or 5 good, great options which are not available easily with all the systems. So we make sure that we help you in terms of cutouts, hooks, the E-chain effect, the palatal bite ramp, and the pressure points. The pressure points is a way of giving torque. Now, torque is to express with plastic. You just have to make a dimple or a depression in the aligner so it touches the tooth at a specific point and it gives a twisting action. So it is useful when we are trying to achieve a lot amount of tipping, but you don't want deepening of the bite. So you add a counter tip or you add a little bit of a pressure point. Pressure points are also useful for rotation corrections. So all these 8 to 10 great customizations or individual customizations, we can trigger case by case according to the requirement. So what I would urge all of us is any doubt on this slide is very critical to address because this will help you select. So thank you. Yeah. So so now we come back to the software. Is this visible to everyone? The screen with the software?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. So, as we were coming back to these great, all the attachment options, one is the button cutouts for the running of e-chain. Now we will come to the virtual e-chain effect and also the torquing auxiliaries. So now one of them is a beveled or a pressure area. So let's say you want to do some amount of torque for the lateral incisor. So we have a torque bar or a torque cylinder which will help to give us a pressure point. So we can also give on the palatal aspect or on the buccal aspect. So let's say we want to give a pressure point on the cervical area of the lateral incisor so that we can give a good amount of twisting action. So that we can just do this and we can angulate it slightly gingivally or occlusally depending on the requirement. So let's say I want to do it this way. So once we export this file, there will be a depression on this blue zone which will cause the aligner to press on the tooth at this area. So that will act as a power ridge. So for those who are not able to know this part, what is a power ridge? Power ridge is nothing but a pressure zone or a pressure point we create to exert that point force on the tooth. So that is what we can do whenever you want to express a little bit of torque. So we will help you with that in all possible forms, in all possible shapes according to the requirement. Next was the bite ramp, which we saw here. So this is how we can put the bite ramp. Third is the various shapes of attachment. So we have a optimized root control attachment. Then we have a beveled attachment. Then we can also give you button cutouts. And in the end, now let's look at a virtual C chain effect. So the virtual C chain or a E chain effect is nothing. But let's say now this is the final correction. We are able to see the amount of contact between each tooth. And we just want to make sure that it is a nice and a tight or a compact correction. So how do we do that? We select all the teeth and we just squeeze them closer during the correction so that we know that the overall correction there will be no residual spaces left, and we try and keep the contact of 0.2 mm. So that really gives us a nice and tight contact without the presence of any dark triangles. And this is how you can give a tight correction at the end. So we always do a over correction in spacing cases and also in the crowding cases a vertical over correction with a variety of torque options. So now let's see the whole correction start to finish with the attachments in action. Okay. So this is how the stage one. We discuss the premolar expansion, then will come the anterior correction, and finally will come the canine correction. So now the anterior flaring is happening where we are selectively also including 1, 2 and 1, 1. Simultaneously, we are expanding the lower arch, distalizing the lower canines, and mesializing the two centrals and making enough space for the canine. Now the canine is coming down and the two laterals are also correcting in the lower arch. So if you can see, the beveled attachment is acting in terms of allowing the aligner to exert a downward force on the canine. And finally, some torque and also the anterior inclination control for the anterior section for the upper arch. And then in the end, we did a little bit of compact arrangement. So this is how the whole correction. Now let's view from the occlusal view. So this is the end of arch form coordination. Now the canines will start correcting. Now we have taken the 1, 2 and 1, 1 slightly, tipped them lingually to close the residual space, and then the overcorrection in the end. Let's look at the lower arch, and then we'll look at the tooth movement chart, and we'll also look at how a report looks. So this is the lower arch. First the expansion, then at that stage, after the finishing of expansion, we have done IPR distal to canine and premolar and between the premolar. That will start the distalization of canine, which we can see right now. After that is over, then we'll start pushing the two lateral incisors out. Now the two lateral incisors will correct, and finally the arch form compact correction. So in orthodontic terms, we have first expanded the arch, coordinated the arch form, extruded the canine, and established torque correction, as we will do with all our orthodontic cases. So what do we also share with all of our practitioners is a variety of views. So we share the frontal view, the left view. So this is how we share all the views pre and post correction. The front, where the blue represents the pre-treatment position and the white represents the corrected position. So we share the front, the left, and the right. So we'll also show you a report. How does a report look? So what I would like to do is take a minute now, and we also share the heat map. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is how the tight the contacts are between the two teeth. That is represented by the red zone. So just to emphasize that there are no open contacts left. We share this heat map at the end of all our aligner cases. Also we share is the staging, what I showed you, how the staging is in there in this case. And finally we share the IPR chart. So in this also we have an option of showing the IPR here wherever we have planned them, and that you can see at which stage the IPR is. We also give a detailed report which is given to you also in a printed format, which you can keep next to you chair side, and you can refer to it at various stages. We also share this staging photograph for you to give an idea at which stage what teeth are moving. If you have any doubts at any point, what we do is we also share the staging photo at which stage what teeth should be where. So if you have any problems, you can also refer back to us. We'll help you with that also. So now let's look at a ortho report. 1 minute. Just mute everyone.
I want her to be small and cute.
1 minute.
If you become big, then your cuteness will go.
Dr. Shweta, can you mute your...
I mute all of them now. Yeah, it's mute. All of them are mute. Okay. So now let's look at a report. What do we share when we send the case to you or with the aligners? So I'll just share the report. So this is how video looks for the
Hello. Can I ask something, ma'am? Hello. Can I ask something?
Sure, sir.
Yes, sure. Yeah, yes, doctor. There is a question from Dr. Archana. In case of an IPR needed, we have to send the impression twice. No, doctor. We will plan the IPR and we'll be sending you. You will have to do the IPR and deliver the aligner accordingly. We generally give the IPR either in the first set or whichever step it is needed, we will mention it on the IPR sheet, and at that time you will have to do the IPR and deliver the aligner. Yeah, okay. The second question is how much distance of movement should we keep per aligner? Okay, Dr. Abhinav, we have zero point 0.2 mm is the movement that we keep per aligner. That is as per studies that we've seen. That is the most predictive movement. So we do zero point 0.2 mm per aligner. Dr. Soham Malik has asked, do you recommend hybrid technique for grossly rotated teeth? Braces first, then aligners. Up to how much angulation derotation is possible? Okay, in hybrid techniques, yes, most of the time we take up braces first because with that and then followed by aligners. Okay, so most of the time, yes, because we will want, especially in a blocked out teeth or where there's a highly placed canine, or so in those situations, we will want that the spaces is a little bit created, like the premolars in the canine comes a little lower and then followed by aligners.
Hello.
So Dr. Anupam Chopal wants to ask a question.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sir, do you guys provide us with some CGI graphics or something which we can use beforehand for the patient to explain it to the patient how the movements are going to take place and how the whole case will go, like a video CGI graphics or something?
so we do provide a virtual setup. So the way it works is that you send us the impression or the cast, or if a scan is possible, a scan of the
Sure, sir.
prospective patient.
Sure,
Post
sir.
that, we create an
Yeah,
entire
yeah,
treatment
I'm
plan
connected
of
now. Okay.
the patient,
Okay.
and we
Mhm.
send you an ortho report. Along with that, we also send you
Okay.
treatment plan in the form of a CGI graphic suite,
Okay,
and which you
okay.
can show to the patient for the patient's understanding in detail. And it's a
Exactly.
simple MP4 file which you could forward him on his WhatsApp, and he
Sure,
can
sir.
see it at his place and commit to the treatment if he's actually comfortable with it.
Yeah,
I
that's great, sir.
think that's
Yeah,
where we
yeah,
dropped out, and I think
yeah.
Dr. Jainil may be able to show this file right away.
Yeah, I'll just
Sure,
show
sir.
you. I'm really sorry, just the connection got disconnected. I'll just open and show you the report and the file. But with respect to the planning, is it helpful for everyone? I hope I was able to, be, clear with the way we are doing the planning, and we are always open
Yes, Dr. Jainil, you're the
to,
host
yeah,
now.
yeah, yes, sir, I'm the host. Thank you, sir. Yeah, so I'll just share the screen. Yeah. So I'll just open up the software again, and we'll just see the how we share a report. What does the report look like, and what are the options in that? What are the data you get? Okay, so this is where we stopped at this point. So what I'll just show you first, let's see the report for the same case. 1 minute. So the amount of data we share for each case is, now there are 3-4 things we share. First, we share the author report. So let's see the report from start to finish. Then we'll play the video also. So this is how a typical case looks. I'll just zoom in so that everyone can see properly. So we'll mention the patient name, the doctor name, the number of aligner sets, and also the detail or the serial number. Then we have some basic treatment notes. What do we do? What are the various teeth? Where are the palatal attachments? So we also mention the kind of auxiliaries we have planned. So we have a range of auxiliaries that I just mentioned. IPR is to be done at which stage. So we also have treatment notes, repairment, maxillary expansion, hybrid approach, and finish with braces later on. Then we have the overview regarding what is the initial position of the teeth, then the tooth fit analysis. So we also have a bolt-on analysis available. We have other 4 analyses which are also done with the software. So let's say if there is a tooth material mismatch and there is a lower tooth material excess, so we know from day one that we have to plan extra IPR for the lower arch. Then this is how the bolt-on analysis looks. See, the ratio for anterior is 0.7, overall is 0.8. So when we know that it is less than 97, we know that the tooth material is excess. So that's how we can identify which area is to be checked properly and where the treatment needs to be executed more properly. Now this, I just showed you the various views that we share: the pre-treatment front and superimposition left view, then the right view, then the occlusal view, and the lower occlusal view. So that also gives you idea what would be the total correction. Then we also share the heat map where we show the tightness of each contact. Then we show the side-by-side view of pre and post correction. So I'll just zoom in so that you are able to see it properly. So this is the front, this is the left, this is the right, this is the occlusal view, and this is the lower occlusal view. So in total we share 12 photographs, 5 for intraoral, front, up, left, right. Now this, where we also share this crucial page, if we can just wait for a second on this page, what we want to see on this table, what is the total tooth movement for the whole case for each tooth in all planes of space. So this is very important to know this, so that we know that the total tooth movement vertically, sagittally, transversely, how much each tooth has moved in each direction. So also a snapshot of this we include in the final PDF. So if we see for this case, let's just have a look. What is the total tooth movement for 1-3? See, vertically it is minus 2.6. So there is extrusion of 2.6 mm. Then backwards it has tipped backwards 2 mm. Now also if you see vertically 2-3 has also moved quite a lot backwards and forwards, and extrusion intrusion is only -1 for the 2-3. So these are the major movements for the canines. Inclination wise also, see, 1-3 has got maximum correction, 11 degrees of inclination correction. Also angulation is where we can also see some amount of torque inbuilt. So for 1-2, see, we can build positive 3.5 degrees. So if you can see, we have built a positive torque for 3.5 degrees for 1-2 and a negative for -1.2 for the canine. So this can be changed as per the requirement and also customized if we have a CBCT data. Similarly, for the lower arch, we can see the maximum correction has happened for the 3-2 and 4-2, 4.5 degrees and 8 degrees for 3-2, the inclination. Rotations are minimal up to 10 to 15 degrees. 12 degrees is the maximum rotation correction for 1-1. So you get a gist of how much correction has happened in the vertical plane, transverse plane, sagittal plane, and also rotations and torquing. So this table we always share with all the reports. Then the IPR chart. So as we'll just have a look to see how the IPR chart is read. The IPR chart is read on the left hand side. We also share a PowerPoint. So this is just a rough chart. We share a proper PowerPoint of IPR, which I'll just open. So this much is how much we share with the ortho report. Now let us see what else we share with the IPR chart. So IPR chart is given as a printout in the form of a PowerPoint where the name, this is the stage on which the IPR has to be done, and this is how the IPR has to be done between each contact. So a printout of this along with the printout of the whole ortho report is shared with all over doctors. So here we can see on stage 10, that is a substage. You have to do IPR between 1-1 and 2-1, 1-4 and 1-5, and also between 4-3, 4-4, 4-4, 4-5. Similarly, in the later stages, you have to do IPR between 3-1 and 4-1, and at the stage of 24. So on each IPR chart, we'll have the doctor name, patient name, the version, and the stage at which you have to do the IPR. Also, the contact in between you have to do the IPR. And by default, what we have done, we have standardized the IPR requirements. We have done 0.3 mm for anteriors and 0.5 mm for posteriors, which is very easy for then you all also to keep in mind. So we will always write a note to all our doctors in all our communication that anterior IPR we try and limit it to 0.3, posterior IPR we try and limit it to 0.5. So this was regarding the ortho report. Now I'll show you the video what is shared as a communication for the patient also. So now we can see we'll just see the front view. Then the left view. So that also tells you a good idea regarding the sequencing. And for all our doctors, we always have a provision that let's say for some reason there is you want a occlusal view video, we can always share that with you. So now what I would urge is we can have an open session and we can have a discussion if any doubts for the whole session.
Yes, Dr. Janil, we have a couple of questions put in the chat.
Okay.
So,
let's read them one by one. Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah. So, how Dr. Ayan has asked how attachment can be attached to the tooth.
Okay, so we have a procedure and a video also which we have made for that. So what we'll do is we'll share with that, but the gist of it I'll tell you. What we usually do, doctor, is we give you a template for the aligner. In that template, we have a hollowed out areas which will you can fill with composite, and then fix it onto the tooth. So if you want, I can share the link of the video which we have made for bonding attachments. It's like how you do composite filling, but where to attach provide the composite or where to give the attachment, we'll give you a template. So we provide 2 sets of templates for all our doctors, in which there the areas where attachments are to be placed are hollowed out. You have to fill that template with the composite material. You have to simultaneously etch the tooth, prime the tooth, put the template on the tooth, cure the template so the composite is left behind, and then polish it. So we'll share with you we have also made a PowerPoint for that. We can definitely share that with you, and you can also have a look at it later with the YouTube video. If you want,
just search for SD Align attachment bonding in YouTube, and the first video that you see is this video. All you have to do is search for SD Align attachment bonding video on
so I'll
YouTube.
just show you, and I'll just show you the couple of slides that I have just on hand ready for you. I'll just show you that also. You can have a look. 1 minute. Yeah, so this is doctor. Are you able to see this page? So this is the attachment photo. How do you go about fixing the attachment? Can you see this photograph, doctor? Where you can first section the template, fill the areas with composite, then put it on the teeth, then check the fit of the template, cure the template, and then floss that area. And on the lower right hand corner, you can see the attachment. Then you have to polish the attachment like this with the sequence burrs, and then in the end use chewies to seat the aligner. Yeah, I hope this is useful, doctor. Was this helpful for you?
Okay. Yes, sir. It was very helpful. Thank you.
We'll share this PowerPoint with you and the YouTube video. Can you give an idea of what sort of crowding treatment can be done within 20 sets? Yeah, sure. So what I would recommend is a single tooth locked out, or up to 4 mm crowding we can easily do with 20 sets. So let's say per contact we need 0.5 mm IPR. So we can do at least 2 mm crowding in 10 sets and 3 mm crowding in 20 sets. So you have to just pick up the model and see how many contacts you have to relieve with crowding. Up to 2 mm crowding we can easily correct with 20 sets, maximum 3 mm. I hope this is easy. I'll show you what kind of cases we can do with 20 sets. One second. So let's say you have a tooth like this, a case like this, Dr. Jain, this is for you. Let's say you have a single tooth which is locked out buccally. This we can correct under 20 sets for you. Also, let's say 2 more teeth are locked out. Up to that, we can easily correct for 20 sets. How do you manage a case of deep bite? So what kind of impression? So we usually recommend, I think so, C silicone, and best is a scan. And how do
We recommend a silicone impression.
sorry, yeah, a silicone, yeah. And if possible, 2 sets is great, so that there is a minimization of error. How do you manage a case of deep bite? So if there is a skeletal versus a dental deep bite, first you have to identify that on a cephalogram. For a dental deep bite, we can easily correct up to 2 mm, and we can also give some extra correction, half mm, with a correction of over correction of curve of Spee. So we will keep a session for deep bites also to show what kind of correction is possible. I think so, Dr. Monica, this should help you. Age of patient is 33. So if you come with a specific requirement, let's say you want specific intrusion of teeth like 1-1 or a 2-1, up to 2 mm we can definitely correct. And also the periodontal condition should be good, and there should be enough bone available periapically. It is definitely possible. If you can share the details with us, we'll definitely help you if it is feasible or not. Yeah. You can unmute yourself, Dr. Monica, if you want to. Okay.
Hello.
Yes, yes. Hi, good
Am
afternoon.
good afternoon, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, very clearly, madam, very clearly. Please go ahead.
Sir, actually, I have a case, and she underwent the treatment 5 years back, and because of her studies, she was unable to follow the treatment. Metal braces. I think she was
Okay.
I am a clinical private practice I'm running. So she just 2 days back, I just placed a bridge on 1, 2, 1, 2, and 2.
Okay.
And now she wants that she don't want any braces, and she's a gynae actually. She's asking for a liner, and deep bite is her main problem.
Okay.
So is the bridge any problem with a liner?
So you want to move the area which is covered with the bridge or around it?
No, she just wants the deep bite correction. That's all.
So is it what we need to see is, can you send some photos and a Ceph of the patient? We'll get back to you immediately, because it's little difficult to identify what is the cause for the deep bite. If it is there, we can up to 2 mm dental correction, we can easily do it, irrespective. Even with the bridge, we can
Sir,
hold
I
it as
think
encourage.
she is a horizontal grower, and I think a strict horizontal grower, and I think it is skeletal as well as dental.
So see, for a so let's say you want a horizontal growth pattern, so skeletal molar extrusion will not be stable. Okay. So whatever we have to do correction, we have to do anterior flaring, or anteriorly slightly we'll have to jump the bite with plastoelastics. So at that point, we just need to see the photos, whether we can disturb the incisal visibility, and also how much curve of Spee we can correct. That will give us a clearer perspective. Let's say I have a curve of Spee which is deep up to 2 mm. Just by the virtue of correcting the curve of Spee and flaring the lower anteriors, your bite will open up by a good 1.5 mm. So that should easily help you in your correction. Yeah.
Okay, sir. I will communicate. Give me just some number.
Sure.
And sir, how many sets will be there, and what will be the time period?
Ma'am, you can just call me Dr. Jainil. It's fine. And see, for 2 mm intrusion, we need usually a good 15 to 18 sets. And along with that, if you have some angular correction, then another 5 or 10 sets. So you can tentatively keep around.
Sir, I can I have some number or something after the session?
So we'll Dr. Akruti will get in touch with you.
Because she's waiting to start the case, and I'll discuss with you. Not a problem.
Definitely, madam. Definitely. Dr. Akruti will contact you. Yeah.
This is Dr. Monica, right?
Yeah, Dr.
Yeah.
Monica
So
Gupta.
Dr. Monica, Dr. Akruti will connect with you. Another question that came in was by Dr. Pooja Sood, who's asking, can I have EMI plans for payments, as small towns is difficult to charge such bulk payments? So we can give a payment plan to the doctor, but but we can't give it to your patient, because the patient ultimately is your customer. So if the doctor needs an EMI plan, that is possible from our end, and we can provide you a EMI plan. Dr. Akruti in this case also will be able to help you. Dr. Akruti, if you can keep a note of Dr. Monica and Dr. Pooja, whom you need to give specific answers to. Another question that was there was by Dr. Manu, who was asking about the impression technique. This could be Dr. Jenny who takes it up, or Dr. Akruti.
Yeah. So see, for impression technique, usually 2-stage is best, Dr. Manu. So what I would recommend is just take a base silicone with a some kind of separating medium or separating sheet. Then you take a final with a light body wash, and you can send it to us. If you're doing 1 stage, at least just make sure you have 2 mm more than the margin recorded for all the teeth. Up to 7 is definitely recommended. 8 is optional if you want to include it in the aligner. Yeah. So we have a PowerPoint for PPT for impression technique also. So Dr. Manu, what we'll do is we'll share that with you. I'll request Dr. Akluti to share that PowerPoint with you. Yeah. So then there is a question, how, if we need intrusion of 2 mm, how much over correction should we incorporate? So Dr. Abhinav, what I would recommend is, let's understand first, do we need intrusion 2 mm per arch or total? So if the total deep bite is 2 mm, depending on the incisal visibility and the growth pattern, we'll have to divide the intrusion. So if we have incisal visibility, which is also more, so we can divide the intrusion as 1.5 mm for the upper arch, 0.5 mm for the lower arch, and another half mm in both the arches for overcorrection. In that, what we will do is we'll divide it anterior versus posterior, depending on the growth pattern and also depending on the sagittal correction. So always we give at least 25 to 50% overcorrection. I think so that should help you with your question. Overcorrection is definitely required. We give half mm for every 1.5 mm of intrusion. We give half mm of overcorrection. Then I think so these two questions are for Dr. Akruti, price per set and phone number. Okay. Yeah. So Dr. Akruti will contact you for pricing for all your queries regarding submission and also the offers which we will be rolling out for all of you.
Any more clinical
So
questions? Yeah.
time
Manu.
period between each stages. Yeah. So Dr. Manu, we recommend minimum 12 days. So if the correction is happening earlier than that, minimum 10 days, maximum 14 days, depending on the comfort of the patient, you can take a call. So our recommendation is minimum 10, maximum 14 for each set. Okay, so I'll just quickly run through the next a very good case which we are panning out right now for the open bite. I'll just show that, and then we can have any more doubts. Yeah. So this is a case of open bite which we are having very good results with. So this started out with the open bite with slight flaring and tipping, and this is how we had planned the case. Just to give you a quick run through this, we had tipped the teeth, corrected the proposed correction of open bite, and we are very happy to show all our participants today that after 18 sets, we had very good results with the open bite correction. Now we are going for a stage 2 correction for another 5 or 8 aligners, where we are going to over extrude the anteriors depending on the incisor visibility and some amount of molar intrusion. So we just want to show that the planning is very much predictable, and also I want to thank all the participants for a very patient hearing, and I hope today's session was very fruitful for all of us.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Jenel, for
Yes,
a
very
wonderful session.
yes.
And Vikram, would you want to say
Yeah.
something?
So, thank you, doctors, for being a part of this session. This series, we actually call it the SD Align Hour, which we conduct every week
Yeah.
on Wednesday between 2 to 3. Every week, we try to attend to one particular area of aligners, which we want to solve as a company and as SD Align, the team. Our motive is to actually democratize this treatment, something that has been a hush hush kind of a treatment for most people. We are more than happy to share everything that we know and every aspect of this treatment that we know with everybody. We will not hold information or knowledge to ourselves. So, at any point of time, anybody has any questions, please feel free to reach out to Dr. Akruti. I have added Dr. Akruti's number in the chat panel. She'll be more than happy to connect you with Dr. Janil or Dr. Ankita. Whether the question is technical, whether it is clinical, or whether it is commercial, we will find a solution to that. And our intent is to ensure that every one of our network partners is able to leverage this particular treatment to provide treatment to as many patients as possible. Thank you. And we hope
I
to see
think
you
so.
all
There are a
next
couple
week.
of questions.
Sure,
I'll
sure. You
just
can take them. You can
address.
take them. You can take
Yeah,
them.
yeah. So, Dr. Manu, doing IPR is PPR. So, you want to do predictive proximal reduction. So, you can do analysis, tooth material analysis, basic tooth material analysis. And if you really feel that you can do some amount of IPR before submitting the case, that is also very fine. And we can definitely confirm that once we receive the records. So, point 0.5 is for per contact. So you can keep a tentative calculation of 0.5 mm per contact for opening up the crowding or decrowding. Then we give IPR gauge, yes, we do give. And do patients need retainers? Yes, we always recommend that you provide a fixed retainer for initial 1 year, and on that we can also provide you a passive retainer. That's fine. So we'll just run through any if any doubts are left. Whatever impression. Okay. Do patient needs? Yeah, we do need retainers, doctor. We and I recommend that you should cut out the posterior section from the retainer so that any possible open bites which are developed at the end of aligner therapy always start settling early on. So that is also another tip we can keep in mind.
Okay, so with
So
this,
yeah,
yeah, I think we can end the session, and Dr.
yes, yes,
Akruti will get connected to all the doctors. And thank you once again to everybody participated today, and
yes,
a
yes.
special
Thank you.
thanks to Dr. Janil.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Ankita, Vikram sir, entire Subka Dentist team. I hope to see all our participants next week, and let's have a great session again.